All right, so welcome into our live stream today. It is metaverse moves on point again, and it feels like we're seeing more and more of this coming in from the behemoths of the gaming sector. We're going to break down what Sony is up to, also where Microsoft, Nintendo fall out in this whole metaverse acquisition shopping spree that's happening right now. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to TechPath. If you're new to our channel, first thing you got to do is like this video, because we're going to teach you a ton about crypto, blockchain gaming, metaverse. You're going to learn a lot around technology and really what's shifting the entire, I think the entire business landscape when you really look at what blockchain means to the industry and I think just to the economy around the world. But of course, one of the biggest plays is going to be on metaverse. And metaverse, of course, involves a lot of different aspects. One of those aspects is gaming. And we're going to dive in really deep on this one. Before we get started, I want to, of course, thank our sponsor, and that is Rainmaker Games. If you guys are interested in our channel, then you are interested in metaverse, play to earn gaming, the hot and moving altcoins out there. Of course, Rainmaker Games is a little different, though. They are, of course, a place where players really kind of come together for play to earn, and they do a ton around this whole aspect of building community. And this is one of the key things. If you're looking at getting into some of these game projects that Rainmaker rolls out, the opportunity is really big in terms of what we could see in the metaverse growth coming soon. The other aspect, of course, if you're following them, then you know the Rain token. We'll do a little breakdown on the Rain token as well. We'll dive into some of our sentiment analysis. But one thing I really like about Rainmaker is their story. This is a cool one. So first of all, they started out as a guild. They've got 1,200 players. 21,000 Discord members and about $700K in monthly revenue. So these guys are definitely on a growth track, and they are building something bigger in the sense of what the metaverse can mean to gaming companies and also the future of how gaming companies are just going to be built in general. This is one I think you should watch. It definitely is one I am watching. And again, I always look at the team because this is one that always intrigues me. Will Dean, who is their CEO, this is a Silicon Valley guy that's been around a lot of digital acquisitions and also digital, kind of the whole aspect of digital from an evolution point of Web 2. And when I look at teams, I'm always interested to see if the executive leaders or the devs have an understanding of where Web 2 is, because the transition that you have to make from Web 2 to Web 3 is real. And the more information and more expertise that you have in that area, the better you are going to do in terms of Web3 development. So thanks to Rainmaker Games of getting involved with us today. It is a good one, but the big story is what we're continuing to see on Sony. And Sony is the one that I'm watching closely because there's a lot of things that are starting to really happen. Obviously, we've seen the situation with Microsoft and Activision. The other aspect of this is Sony and Bungie. And of course, this used to be Halo, now it's Destiny 2. So you've got a whole acquisition theme that's starting to run through the gaming sector, and also the powerhouses of what could be blockchain players in the future. And if you look at play and earn gaming and where that direction is going, whether you're into blockchain games or whether you're a gamer out there and maybe you stumbled across this video on gaming in general and trying to look at blockchain gaming and how play to earn works, one of the biggest things that I think we will see is this whole transition from traditional game companies to a massive move in the blockchain space. And what I mean by that is some of these games, we may not see AAA titles jumping over and doing play to earn and all that kind of stuff. What I think we will see, though, is a low transition and a slow transition of those types of projects, one either being acquired, meaning some of the blockchain companies and studios being acquired some of these by some of these bigger companies that are really going to move in that direction. So a lot happening around all of that. And of course, this is kind of an interesting story right here. And this is kind of the acquisition moves that I'm kind of talking about here. Obviously, Take-Two Interactive with Zynga. Then you've got Microsoft, Activision, and Blizzard, and then Bungie and Sony kind of coming in. But look at these numbers, 68.7 billion, 12.7 billion, that's nothing. And then 3.6 billion, again, not as many opportunities there. But the cool thing that this brings up is there a play into the metaverse for Sony. And if you look at what they're doing, and let me pull up a video real quick, and I'm going to just jump to this and go over to the Destiny 2, just to give you guys a little bit of a look. Let me go to a full screen of what could happen in Bungie's application in terms of their title and potential future. Is really that all you'd have to do, our Crypto Pit kind of pointed this out, is that you start dropping NFTs in here, potentially start to engage in in-game economy, and all of a sudden now you've got a metaverse play that could really start being a big situation for Sony. Now, do you think Sony is going to try to move in this direction? We already are seeing Microsoft and many others going in this direction. Obviously, we saw the shift from Zynga executives moving over to blockchain over on Big Time. There's just so many plays that are happening in the space right now. I just feel like these AAA titles are really set for some very big moves. So let's continue to kind of break this down. This was an article right here on Protocol. Bungie could become Sony's secret weapon for building future PlayStation games. This will be interesting because when you look at what Bungie is doing, they are going after a very cross-platform play here, as opposed to PlayStation being kind of that isolated island out there. And you do have the console wars those are real. But the idea is if we get into cross-platform, especially if we get into PC, mobile, and the aspect of blockchain, now it starts getting really interesting because that starts creating a lot of opportunity around blockchain gaming, and that's what we're all leaning into. So if you're watching this show, the idea is that we lean in a lot here on blockchain gaming, where the metaverse lies, and what kind of e-commerce and just general commerce we're going to see in that space. And I think these are the pivotal acquisitions of our time right now. If you think about this, this has only happened since really October when Meta, Facebook, announced they were going all in. This has only really been happening since then. Sure, there's been probably negotiations that maybe started kicking the tires, but the fact that we started seeing a lot of major companies pulling the trigger in the billions, this has a lot to where the metaverse is going. So just keep your eye on that for sure. And I want to get over to a couple of things here because there's a couple of aspects to this. This is one around Nintendo. 4 reasons Nintendo is a great metaverse stock, even though I still think it's a little bit out there. But Nintendo's, obviously they're based on their Switch owners, popularity, Animal Crossing, Pokemon Go, and then you've got just the Super Nintendo World and Universal Studios highlight. There's just a lot there, much like, and this is another thing that we've brought up a couple of times before, Nintendo seems to be where they are in a position where they could kind of set back on this and wait and let this play out. Maybe make a play. I mean, I think Pokemon would be a perfect example. The question is whether or not they would pull the trigger on something like that. So my point here is, as you're really trying to create a strategy of what kind of metaverse investments you're going to play into, you have to watch these news items, because this is going to put down a lot of runway for developing projects and also potential acquisition, as well as projects who are either partnering with and or in some way connecting to a lot of these console plays that are going out right now into the metaverse. So lots happening in the space of gaming. Definitely so much happening with, now that Sony's in the mix. I think there's going to be a lot more as we continue to see more acquisitions. And more interesting, I'm kind of curious. I wonder which blockchain gaming studio right now would be acquired by a major. And I want to jump to a poll because I know you guys are loving these polls. So let's get to one real quick just to give you an idea. So who is more likely to dominate the metaverse in gaming? Everybody's on Microsoft at 45%. Sony says, wait a minute, we might be able to come in at 30%. Nintendo, not a chance. No legacy game studios, go. I like that. Okay. So Gala or other potential. But I'm kind of curious if you guys, and let us know in the comments, make sure and put some questions in. Which game studios do you think in blockchain right now could be targets for acquisition, whether it's one of the big, FANG stocks or one of the big guys in gaming in general, or maybe a AAA studio that looks at trying to do that? I mean, you've got a lot of other players that have already really started to move in this direction. My Neighbor Alice, another traditional game studio. You look at what Jam City is doing, another traditional game studio with Champions Ascension. That's a blockchain project. Those are the kind of moves that I'm really interested in, because that starts to lay the groundwork for a lot of what we're going to see in this space. And that I don't think is going to change much as we continue. Make sure, another thing too, guys, is watch take a look at the videos we dropped today, because there's a lot of very interesting aspects to what we're doing here on the channel, really exploring, kind of an expansion of our content. We've got another studio we're getting ready to launch here in the gaming Mecca studio, but also our metaverse studio, which is next door here, is going to be launching soon, and we'll soon have a new set for that, and it will really be fun. But I think the goal here is to get you guys educated on all things crypto, blockchain in general. Really like to see how you like the traditional crypto and altcoin projects. We just dropped some stuff on Bitcoin mining with HUD8 and Suinis. That's a great video. You should check that out, because there's a lot of drops in there around the future of Bitcoin pricing. But also whether or not we're going to continue to see this massive run up in the metaverse and play to earn gaming. That's a big one to watch. So some of the projects that I want to keep an eye on and that we're going to show you guys today. First of all, we're going to break down some sentiment for you on Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo. We're also going to give you some sentiment on some top trending projects in the metaverse that we're keeping an eye on that you guys might want to check out. But one, of course, is Affin, the new face of metaverse gaming with sustainable economy and AR. Sees Affin raise another 20 million here. So I think this is another play that we'll continue to see moving in our direction of more and more metaverse projects really starting to break out. And this is something that we talk about a lot in our own analysis and research. We have a full team here that's constantly just digging in and digging through not only news, but data, and also what we're seeing in terms of price action. And metaverse continues to be one of the ones that continues to really kind of fly up the charts. So, and if you guys have been watching what's going on the charts, and we just did a drop on this on the NFT piece with LooksRare that really kind of got into this. This is another thing right here, hyperspace, welcome to the metaverse in real life. And again, these are the kind of things that I think we'll continue to see happening. Hyperspace, a new entertainment venue that wants to be a physical portal to the metaverse. Here's the big question I have, and I think for you, is whether or not we will see real world activities make it through to the metaverse. Will it be the Ready Player One, kind of aspect, or will this be one of those things where we're already in the metaverse? And what I mean by that, hear me out for a second, is you guys are watching our video and you're doing this through YouTube, you're maybe doing it on a mobile device, maybe you're catching this over on Twitch. There's a lot of different places in which there's a lot more engagement outside what we used to utilize in terms of how social media is traditionally used. So we could be seeing aspects of the metaverse already really playing out. The only next layer could be maybe some AR, augmented reality, where you'd be able to maybe jump in on a token or get involved in a Q&A or really do some interesting things as we start to see that kind of technology evolve. Maybe that's where we're going, or will it be a complete new world that basically kind of repaints what society is in real life, but just doing it in a digital format? I'm always kind of curious on that, because those are a lot of different conversations that I have around this whole aspect. So right here is famous NFTs, see them in person, add an augmented reality aspect. This is again another aspect of where we're normalizing what's happening in, there you see Bored Ape, but we're normalizing what's happening in the metaverse into real world experiences. And that's another aspect that I feel like is going to continue to ramp up adoption. If we continue to see the ramp up of adoption, because you already think about this, you're already seeing these major players like Sony, Microsoft, etc., making these major moves. You see Facebook, Meta, making a shift toward all in. These are the writing on the wall. If you look at Nike, Artifact, all those different companies that are starting to make this move, it is actually happening in plain sight. The real thing is that we've just not seen the real application from a point of the regular use case. Now, could sports become that bridge over to that? Yeah, it could be. We could see a lot more NFT involvement, especially around things about like what NFL All Day is doing, what we could see, on sports, especially in the soccer leagues, and how that might evolve, especially in the utility side of some of these NFTs. So there's a lot happening in that space. Another one right here, Meta Dojo's affordable metaverse premises infrastructure, and that's another $3 million in seed funding. This is another thing I think, and I want you to be aware of this. This is where it gets into something that you've got to watch for often, and that is overhype. Because there's going to be a lot of money grabs right now and land grabs that are going to be just that, money grabs and land grabs. Do not get sucked into those kind of projects. You really need to start looking at the teams, look at their history and their track record, and look at their roadmap. Look at what they're trying to do overall. Because if they have a roadmap that is real and has real potential, you'll be able to identify it pretty easily. So something to keep an eye on as we continue to see this all moving. Here's the sports betting company, Entain, eyes the metaverse with another $133 million investment. This is just a litany of news topics that continue to hit the space around why metaverse will be and can be the next major aspect of what we'll see in the crypto space. And I'm just kind of curious, when you look at projects, what are you isolating as the primary research that you're looking at? Are you looking at strictly data on the tokens? Are you looking at the teams? Because if you're using the same fundamentals that you use in traditional crypto, which is what I recommend, really look at the projects themselves, look at the token analysis, take a look at what you're seeing in terms of the data coming in, whether it's sentiment data, price action data, those kind of things, but really dive into the team and that roadmap, because I think these are very critical in moving out there. I want to get into an interesting aspect. And here's another tweet right here on Theta Network that was talking about the Entain piece. Looking forward to innovating the sports and entertainment metaverse with Entain Group, the leading global sports betting, gaming, interactive entertainment. This is big because of the fact that, Theta is, listen, this is a big video play that I think Theta, we've talked about this on the channel before, this is one of those projects as they continue to build out what they're trying to do from a technical standpoint, but also from a standpoint of partnerships. I think some of these things could really come to life. But at the same time, remember, this could be 1999 all over again. And if you've been in tech very long or seen tech very long, you understand what happened in 1999. That was the dot bomb. It was the era in which we saw massive run-ups on essentially a gold rush of companies and entities really trying to make it into the era of the internet. Much like what we're seeing on Web3, much like what we're seeing on blockchain. What happened over the next 18 months was brutal. And that was, we lost an absolutely massive amount of wealth in through the VC entrances, which we're starting to see a lot of overheating in the VC aspects of blockchain, metaverse, all those things. So you have to keep your eyes on the prize. Don't get blinders so deep in that you're losing your peripheral vision of what's really happening in the space. So you've got to keep on that for sure. Make sure, and of course, just check back here, because listen, man, that's what I am doing constantly with our team here, is really diving into a lot of different opinions, different looks in where this is going, and also analyzing this from a data perspective as well. So when you do all that, that's about the best you can do, because you're doing your homework, you're doing everything you can to really kind of lean into the projects, but also at the same time be cautious of how you're doing it. Let's get to the poll real quick, because there's some other stuff I think that you guys are interested in. Which play to earn project most likely to get acquired? Animoca, interesting. Sky Mavis, we just had Sky Mavis and Axie on the show here over the last week. Gala, okay, this is interesting, because Gala and Animoca, now Animoca being Sandbox, but just a massive amount of investment projects, versus Gala, which is really a studio that has a lot of game I don't know, that would be a toss-up for me. I think I might go Gala Games on this. Oh, look at it. The chart is moving, 36.36 right there. All right, so anyway, you got Illuvium down there at 21%. Illuvium, awesome project, by the way. All right, so let's get into some of the projects that we're really watching right now. One, of course, is DecentralLand. I just want to look at this chart here. As you can kind of see, DecentralLand mana has been climbing out. This has been on our list of our top 20. It made it again earlier last week and again this week, so we can kind of see price action happening there. Another one, of course, as I promised, Rainmaker Games, which is the sponsor of this episode. These guys have also started to move just here in the last day, but if you kind of look at Rainmaker coming off the floor and starting to move up, again, could we be seeing a little bit of a recovery here with Bitcoin's move toward 40K in metaverse and especially in these blockchain projects? So I'm really interested in some of these. I hope that many of you have been buying the floor. If you have, you probably are starting to see some pretty good gains, definitely. And let's take a look also right here at Sandbox. So Sandbox, of course, is another one that has just pulled right off the floor, which if you got in right there on the low at $2.67, what a great buy that was. And then sitting right now and trading in at right at $4. So you've almost doubled your money. Wow, pretty big moves there. And if you look at this on the, just to look at Sandbox over the past year, kind of look at this moves right here. This is what we're talking about right here. Again, this is kind of the metaverse weekend that occurred, which was October 27th. I'll never forget this day. It was when Facebook and Meta dropped it, and everything changed in both business and within, I think, what's happening within the crypto space for sure. And obviously, even on our channel, just the amount of push toward the metaverse and gaming became a huge, huge part of where it's going. Affin was the other one that we're tracking. And again, this one is another one that has kind of come right off the floor right here and into a very interesting scenario right here. Something weird with data right here. I noticed this earlier with Coin Market Cap. I'm going to check that on CoinGecko too. But of course, we just went through Affin. And I think the key here with any of these is that as you look at these projects, again, keep your framework in. We'll do these market movers for you. The key is we're going to present data like this. We're going to give you some sentiment information. And then, of course, the key is you want to do the research once you find out, hey, maybe that's a project I might want to take a look at. And that's okay. That's the way that you want to do it. So we're going to give you the tools for that to get going. Of course, the Crypto Power Index, make sure and stay tight on that because that is something that we are going to be dropping to where you can actually get access to it, where you'll be able to take a look at our sentiment data analytics every week, checking out our top 20s, probably before we drop them on the shows themselves, which is really helpful, especially top 20 metaverse, top 20 gaming, altcoins. We also do our trending. We're going to do a ton of video analysis in there. There's just a lot going to be happening over there on the CPI. Let's jump over to the CPI to take a look at how these big boys are holding. Now, this is general. This isn't token analysis. This is general sentiment analysis on this based on metaverse and gaming related social conversations. And you look at Microsoft really kind of dominating right here at 79.66, but look at their amplification 80.19, which I think will probably play into their stock price a little bit. Then you see Sony that is a little bit light on amplification, but again, I think new mainly because we put a criteria in the data hall that we did on this one around metaverse and gaming, so that could probably hold back sentiment on Sony. Nintendo, just in general, I think Nintendo just continues to be a powerhouse when we look at brands in the gaming sector, 79.35 and a 78.21. Microsoft really, I think right now, has it to lose. They are in a position and probably have a shopping list. The problem with Microsoft that you will have is that you're going to have to deal with the SEC, because if you start going out and doing major acquisitions, let's say Microsoft wanted to do an acquisition on Gala or someone like that, I think we would get some pushback from the regulators on how that might happen. So that's maybe the only fallback that we would see there. Last up is the metaverse trending tokens. And also make sure and put your comments over here, if you want us to answer some questions for you. We'll get to those best we can. Don't forget videos. We dropped several today to catch out. So, but anyway, back to our chart here, sentiment and amplification on the trending tokens in metaverse that we're really watching. Affin, which is on the move, 72.16. This one I see with a little bit of activity. Rainmaker, of course, again, also on the move, 73.02. And Sandbox, of course, we've known. These are kind of showing some of the lower cap gems and trends that we're watching against some of the bigger cap projects here with Sandbox and Mana. So Sandbox holding out 76.05, an amplification score of 75.22, right there on a cusp. Sandbox could be getting ready for a breakout. So I'm going to watch this one really close. And then, of course, Mana, DecentralLand, 75.04 and 73.08 on the amplification. So again, these are the breakouts that we do that come off of our Crypto Power Index data, and this is really what drives most of our channel, because we do a ton of data analysis based on our methodology and how we look at tokens in general. So a lot happening in that space for sure. All right, so I want to get over and take a look at some of the questions, because I know you guys have a ton of these, and the big one that is always, I think, coming in is are we going to see Metaverse take another pump? And I think this is going to be coming from, of course, the brethren of crypto, and that's going to be, of course, Bitcoin and Ethereum. So as we see those things, and has everybody noticed a little bit of move by Ethereum? Keep your eyes on that one. All right, so let's take a look. Axie to 200 2022. Okay, you're singing my tune, Dashiel. You're singing my tune here because I like Axie, especially if you were able to buy this under 50 bucks. Man, what a great opportunity you have just made. You might have made a nice little play there. I'm actually doing some swing trading with Axie just because when it's on the floor like this, it's something that you can do. I don't know if you guys are now putting Axie, staking it, or if you're also putting it in projects like, I think Nexo was paying some pretty big interest on Axie. A lot of different things happening with Axie. We saw this come out in iTrust. iTrust is getting ready to release Axie on their crypto IRAs. So there's a lot happening there, definitely for sure. Miki, Ecomi, the VVverse. Okay, I don't know if that's a statement or if that's a question, but I'm going to assume that's a question. Listen, if Ecomi and Vivi, we get that migration done, complete, we have the ability to start transacting from gems to real tokens. When that occurs, I think things blow up, but also there's a lot of pushback of people, their analysis saying, could that cause a floor to drop out of some of the NFTs that you're buying on Vivi? So it's going to be an interesting thing to watch. I think Vivi is too strong, too many players and too many games, I should say too many participants in the Vivi app itself. All right, let's see here. What else do we have? Interesting. Okay. Let's go to Real PC Benchmark. First mortgages were issued, just issued inside DecentralLand. Things are getting crazier. I agree with you. Now, this is getting interesting. I wonder if it was mortgages that were transacted in DecentralLand for in real life property. I haven't seen that story, so I'm going to check that out. Or was it digital property that you were doing a mortgage on? That'd be interesting. All right. Would Steam or Epic Games purchase Gala at some point? I think everything is on the table right now. Everybody that is in the gaming sector, whether you are in traditional AAA or you're a rising studio, or you're a blockchain studio, or you're a one-off game maker, I think everything is in play right now because of the moves that we're seeing in the space. Like I said, this is internet all over, internet creation all over again. So it would not, I would put anything, I wouldn't put it past anything in terms of potential projects and also partnerships and acquisitions that could happen really quick. So be very careful there. All right, Dale Lane, Illuvium can't really be bought. I don't know, Dale. I would like to know why on that one. I mean, they've definitely got an interesting ecosystem. It's a AAA development studio. I think there's a lot of money going into it. Could it be, like somebody, I don't know about that. I think a big studio could come in and say, hey, listen, we need a blockchain team and we need to suck up someone really big, like an Epic would be a perfect matchup for that. That's an interesting angle. I like it. All right. Travis Garnett. Okay, I think Placewar could get picked up. So, we've had Myrtle on the show, their CEO. Placewar's been in here a couple of times. That'd be an interesting play. Very small project, though. Not yet completely rolled out, even though they just did a launch. But yeah, it's one of those for sure that could be in there. AAA studios just developed their own. Okay, so that's a possibility, and it is something that we've talked about on the show before with many game guys, including blockchain guys. And of course, their pushback when I talk to CEOs and devs on the blockchain side is that they're too slow. The transition from Web 2 to Web 3 is real. And the fact that you're having to develop in blockchain and a whole new framework of trying to interface those two, it's almost a zero start. And what a zero start is when a developer can't recode it and they have to go down to baseline and really start again. That's a possibility in a lot of these projects, which is why blockchain, I feel like you're going to see a lot more integrations. Now, there are going to be some at, and we've talked about this before. I've gone into detail about the potential for transfer of wealth into the millennial crowd, which is a lot of younger people, I'll say under the age of 35, that have parents that are leaving large, vast wealths amounts to these people. And there's an opportunity there because they understand blockchain and they're turned off traditionally by most traditional investments. Now, I will say this, money changes people. When you put money in people's hands, a lot of times they either get conservative or get reckless. The issue that you have to deal with is if we see enough,